My name is Gloria Whitman, and I was never the favorite. That spot belonged to my younger sister, Sabrina. Since we were kids, she glowed in every room. Loud laugh, bright smile, the kind of child neighbors remembered. Our mother, Karen, adored her. "She's just like me," Mom would say, resting a proud hand on Sabrina's shoulder, like that explained everything. It often felt like the rest of us were barely in the room. I was the quiet one. I read books. I learned how to sew before I learned to ride a bike. "Too serious," Mom would sigh. Not cruel, but never kind. Like I was a little disappointment she'd decided to live with. When guests came over, Sabrina was the star. Once, when I was about 10, Mom hosted her bridge group. I'd helped make the fruit tray and stood in the doorway, neat dress, hands clean, waiting. She saw me, waved me away, and mouthed, "Not now, Gloria." Later, she said I was hard to explain and wouldn't enjoy the chatter anyway. My dad, Robert, was different. He never made me feel like too much or not enough. He was a quiet man who worked as a machinist for 40 years, the kind of work that leaves oil under your nails no matter how long you scrub. He never missed dinner, never forgot a birthday, never raised his voice. He didn't show off, but he noticed. When I brought home a perfect math score, he put the paper on the fridge. Mom rolled her eyes. "No one hangs test papers after middle school," she said. "It's not cute." Dad just smiled and left it where it was. He treated me and Sabrina equally. I clung to that. Even when Mom bought Sabrina a new dress for a dance and told me, "Well, you never go to those things," I reminded myself, Dad loves me the same. Nothing really changed when we grew up. Sabrina still walked through life like it owed her something. She had jobs, but none lasted. Whenever she got fired, Mom had a fresh excuse. Not the right fit, or the manager was jealous. Sabrina kept floating. I built my life the slow way. I moved out first, paid my own rent, fixed my own car, visited on weekends, and still felt like a guest in a house where I had grown up. Dad always knew when I was there. He'd leave the porch light on. He'd brew coffee. He'd ask, "How's work?" and wait for the answer. I never had to fight for his attention. He offered it gladly. That was our family's balance, Karen and Sabrina in their bright, loud orbit, and me and Dad steady and quiet in the center. I didn't realize how fragile that balance was until it broke. Dad retired at 65. No party, no big speech. He just came home one Friday with a small box and his old gloves and said, "That's it." It was nice at first. He made a bird feeder. He planted a small garden. I'd stop by after work and he'd have something new to show me. Nothing flashy, just useful things that made life a little better. Then one morning he missed the last step off the back porch, just 4 inches, and fell hard. He broke his hip. The surgery was quick. The recovery was not. He tried, but the strength didn't come back. He went from walker to wheelchair. He hated being still. Mom hated it more. "He just sits," she muttered once, not knowing I was in the next room. All day. Sabrina flipped through a magazine and said, "It's depressing. He doesn't even talk much." "Can you blame him?" I asked from the doorway. They startled. Mom laughed too loudly. "We're not being cruel. It's just hard." But what they meant was, it was hard for them. They started avoiding him. It began small. Mom stopped cooking full meals. Sabrina said she was too sensitive to help with bathing or meds. Then I found travel brochures on the counter. Spa, wine tasting, horses under a blue sky. "Looks nice," I said. Mom glanced over. "We're thinking of a trip. Without your father, of course." "Who's staying with him?" I asked. She waved her hand. "You," I assumed. "You're good at this stuff." They didn't ask. They just decided. It kept happening. Dinners, weekends away, sometimes no warning. I'd show up and find Dad, alone, watching golf with the sound low. One evening I arrived just before Teresa Martin, the part-time care worker. She frowned. "Is no one else here?" "No," I said. "I was told someone would help," she said. I called Mom. No answer. Sabrina texted hours later. "Out for dinner. Can it wait?" That night I did the bathing. Dad apologized for the trouble. I didn't say it was fine. It wasn't. I finally asked them to step up, rotate care days, handle meds, at least deal with the paperwork. Mom sighed. I didn't sign up to be a nurse. I have my own life. Sabrina said, You're great with schedules and binders. You've got this. I should have seen what was coming. After about 6 months, I noticed the bank statements had stopped arriving. I switched to digital, Mom said. Less clutter. I didn't push, but I worried. I tried logging in with the credentials I'd set up for Dad years ago. Access denied. I called the bank. They said the account permissions had changed. I wasn't listed anymore. Later that week, I heard Mom on the phone. Just bill the deposit to the main account. Main account? I asked. She smiled. Your father's. We have power of attorney now. It's easier. Since when? 2 months. We needed it for medical decisions, she said. You don't need to worry, Sabrina added. We've got it. But they didn't. They had taken control, quietly, legally, completely, and I hadn't seen it happen. By the 8th year, Dad lived in one room. He stayed in the den where the afternoon light was soft, and the chair by the window fit his body like it knew him. The garden was a tangle. The bird feeder hung empty. He spoke less, but when he did, he asked how my day had gone. I'd cut my hours to part-time. Teresa could cover 3 afternoons a week. The rest was mine. Mom and Sabrina had faded out of the picture almost completely. Sabrina drifted between jobs. Mom said her hands hurt. I stopped asking. One Thursday, after a routine scan, the doctor asked me to step into his office. He didn't close the door. Your father has late-stage pancreatic cancer, he said. We estimate months, not a year. Dad didn't need to hear the words. He saw it on my face in the waiting room. He reached for my hand. That night, I emailed my job and resigned. No big talk at home. Mom didn't ask. Sabrina said, Wow, that's a choice. For me, there wasn't a choice. Every day got sharper. I cooked soft meals, tracked meds, sat with him when he couldn't keep his eyes open. One evening, I cleaned a drawer and found a manila envelope with my name on it. Inside was a letter in his familiar, careful handwriting. Gloria, if you're reading this, I may not have the energy to say what I need to say. I want you to have what I've managed to set aside. It isn't everything, but it matters. Take care of yourself first. You've done more than enough. Love, Dad. Behind the letter was a copy of a rental contract for a 2-bedroom apartment about 40 minutes away. I knew the place. We'd driven by it on the way to a clinic once. He'd pointed at it and said, Nice place, close to a park. He had already put down a deposit. I knew why. Michael Reyes, the hospice case coordinator who sometimes filled in for Teresa, had become more than kind. We'd shared quiet talks on the front porch, coffee and paper cups, unhurried silences that didn't feel empty. We weren't official, but we weren't strangers. When Dad found out, he didn't scold me. He smiled. You deserve someone who stays, he said. And while I was buried in care, he had been making plans for me. For us. In the envelope were also paid deposits, a penciled-in fall date, and receipts. He never told Mom. He never told Sabrina. He told me. The day before he lost his words, he whispered, Start your life. Don't wait for permission. I held his hand and promised with my eyes. Dad passed on a quiet Sunday morning. I was there. I had just finished changing the sheets when his breathing slowed. I sat beside him and waited. There was no final speech, no last-minute confession, only a soft exhale and stillness. I called hospice. I called Teresa. Then I sat for a long time, not crying, not moving, holding the space he left. Mom and Sabrina didn't answer right away. Mom finally picked up after my 3rd call. We're out shopping, she said. You'll have to handle things. And I did. I made the calls, arranged transport, filed the death certificate, booked the church, ordered flowers. Sabrina texted, Later. Tell me when the service is. I'll try to make it. On the morning of the funeral, I came early to straighten chairs and greet the first visitors. Mom ran late in a tailored black suit. Sabrina arrived afterward, sunglasses on indoors. When it was time for the eulogy, Mom took the podium like it belonged to her. She said all the things people like to hear about men like my father: quiet, strength, devotion, sacrifice. I stared at the floor and didn't let the words hollow me out. After the service, I went home. Our home. The air still smelling like his soap and coffee. I wanted to be alone. But Mom and Sabrina were already there on the couch with glasses of wine, as if we were starting another afternoon. "We need to talk," Mom said. I stood in the entryway in my black dress. "Can it wait?" "It can't," Sabrina said, holding a paper. "This is a waiver. It says you won't contest the estate. It's just a formality." I didn't move. Mom leaned forward. "We have power of attorney. We've spoken to the attorney. We're inheriting the house and what's left in the accounts. It's already in motion." I looked from their faces to the paper. "Dad just died," I said. "We're not being cold," Mom replied. "But these things move fast. Best to get ahead of it," Sabrina added. "You don't even live here. You're getting married, right? You have your own place." I hadn't told them that. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I picked up the pen from the coffee table and signed the form. No one said thank you. Mom stood up. "You'll need to be out in 10 days. We contacted a realtor." I nodded. Sabrina refilled her glass. That night, I packed in silence. I took what I needed: clothes, Dad's framed photo, a stack of his notebooks, and the envelope he left me. No one came to my door when I left. 3 days later, my phone rang. The caller ID showed home. I almost didn't answer. Mom's voice was sharp. "Where is it?" "Where is what?" I asked. "The money," she snapped. "From your father's account. It's gone. Everything. What did you do?" I closed my eyes. "You told me not to contact you," I said calmly. "This is an emergency," she said. "There were thousands. Where is it?" "You had power of attorney," I reminded her. "You and Sabrina. I wasn't allowed near it." "You left the passbook in the desk," she said. "But the money is missing." "I never touched it," I said. Silence, then Sabrina in the background. "Ask her again. Where did she hide it?" Mom came back. "We made plans. I put down deposits. Sabrina quit her job. We counted on that money." "You never checked the balance before he died," I said. "Why would we? He barely spent. He just sat there." I waited. "Then you didn't know," I said. "There wasn't much left." "Impossible." "Not impossible," I said. I told her about the apartment, the venue, the deposits, the letter. I told her about Michael. "You're lying," Sabrina said when she grabbed the phone. "I'm not," I said. "Dad made that choice. You weren't there. He knew what he was doing." Sabrina's voice cracked. "So that's the inheritance? A wedding and rent money? Did he think that made us even?" I didn't answer. Mom returned to the line, softer now. "We have nothing left, Gloria. I already paid for the cruise. The house needs work. We can't afford it. There's nothing coming in. We need help. Just until things settle." "You told me to leave and never come back," I said. "That was before." "No," I said. "That was you." I ended the call and blocked the number. I didn't hear from them directly again, but news travels. The cruise couldn't be refunded. Mom had paid in full, assuming the estate would refill the well. Sabrina had already posted photos of suitcases with palm trees. They canceled, but the money was gone. They tried to keep the house, but the pipes were old. The roof needed patching, and no one wanted to invest with 2 names on the deed and no savings to fix it. They sold fast and quiet, below market. After fees and moving costs, little remained. They moved to a small condo on the other side of town. No yard, no porch light. Sabrina went back to temp work. She tried to borrow from friends, but people were tired of the story, especially after she'd bragged about the money coming. Whatever romances she chased faded out. Men stopped calling. Mom tried to return to her part-time job at the consignment shop. They'd already filled the position. At her age, it wasn't easy. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Their story moved on without me. The only thought I allowed myself was this. It wasn't revenge. It was finally walking away without guilt. We got married in early fall. It was small and quiet, just a few friends. The venue was the one Dad circled, a porch under a grove of oaks that caught the evening light. Michael stood beside me, steady as always. I wore a simple dress, no veil, no empty chairs, but I felt him with me. We framed Dad's letter and hung it by the door in our new apartment. The ink was a little faded on the edges, but the words were clear. Take care of yourself first. You've done more than enough for me. Sometimes when I leave for work or come home late, I pause and read it again. He didn't leave me a fortune. He left me peace. Maybe that was the point all along. Some people inherit houses, others inherit quiet. I used to believe the quiet ones, the ones who stayed, who did the work without applause, had no story worth telling. But that was never true. Maybe you were the one who packed your father's things alone. Maybe you kept the lights on when no one else showed up. Maybe no one ever said thank you and still you stayed. If your family erased you from your own story, this one is for you. You don't need to explain. You don't need to defend why you left or why you never went back. But if there's one word someone should have said to you, one word that's still sitting heavy in your chest, leave it here. I will understand. I will.